Welcome to the MVP podcast, where we talk about anything NBA. I'm Sam Holcroft alongside Geigh Zollicoffer. Before we begin, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP, follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. So today we're going to do our 2023 to 2024 NBA season prediction tier list. So this is what Gage and I think that these teams are going to do this year. Our 5 categories are the top teams, playoff contenders, play-in fighters, identity finders, and tankers. So obviously top teams, these are the teams that we expect that could make the NBA finals, conference finals, maybe even give a little some teams a little bit run for their money. Playoff contenders, we expect those teams to firmly get a playoff spot. So definitely those 6 or higher, maybe even win a playoff series. Play-in fighters, those are the teams that are fighting to get into the playoffs, mostly trying to get into the play-ins. Or these could also be those 11, 12 seeds that are trying to also get into the play-in, like a couple teams we had last year. Identity finders, they don't know what direction they're going in. We probably have some obvious ones that we'll talk about here soon. So those are those. And then the tankers, the teams that are just not going to be that good and don't have a future, or they don't see their future in winning at the moment, and not benefiting them either. All right, Gage. So we're going to start off with your town, ATL, the Atlanta Hawks.
How fast are we going to do this?
We can give off like 30 seconds each, and then if we argue, then we can debate a little bit about it. So okay. Where's Atlanta?
Atlanta, play-in fighter.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I like the combination of DeJounte and Trey, but they did lose John Collins. Clint's still there though.
They never even used them.
They didn't. So I think play-in fighters is a good one. I could still see them maybe being like a 6 seed potentially, but I think a lot of the stuff will have to go and bounce their way. So
yeah, I think they should just give it up.
Jeez, always hating on Atlanta, bro.
No, they should just give it up. Like, I mean, what is the point? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to win a championship with DeJounte. DeJounte's on his way out. DeJounte kind of should probably leave, go to Magic.
Yeah. But Boston Celtics, I think that we can probably firmly put them in top teams. Yeah.
Top team.
They added Porzingis, although I'm still not a huge fan of that. But I think that, they're on the right track to getting back to the NBA Finals.
I mean, yeah. They gave up Marcus Smart, but then they got Drew too. They have a lineup. I think their weakness is their center, obviously, because, I think they gave up Robert Williams in that trade. And so now you just have 37-year-old Al Horford holding it down for your centers. I don't
know. Brooklyn Nets?
Identity finder.
Yeah, I was going to say this.
Yeah. You got Miles Bridges. you have the team is finding identities, and you also have individual players trying to find their identities. Like Ben Simmons is trying to figure out who he is. Miles Bridges is trying to figure out who he is. Cam is trying to figure out who he is. Is he a scorer or is he out of the NBA? I don't even think the team knows what to do with him. So, yeah. Identity finders, easy.
Yep. Charlotte Hornets. It's hard to see this team being another tanker.
Tanker.
I think
Terry Rozier needs to go. You need to. It's like when you bring in a new college football coach. They got to get their own players in. Michael Jordan is gone. You gotta let the ownership bring in their guys. Terry Rozier is gone. I'm telling you that right now. One of the worst efficiencies in the NBA. And then I think Gordon Hayward, gone. It needs to be the LaMelo Ball. You got to go. I don't understand what this team was.
Exactly. So it sounds like that they are missing what we call an identity. So I feel like this team, I
they have nothing there to identify as. It's over. They just need to tank. They need to tank for another player. Get rid of Terry.
Tank for another player? Tank for who? All right. Chicago Bulls. This one's a hard one to gauge. Like this is a team that, we could put in playoff contenders, we could put them in identity finders, and we could put them in play-in fighters, you know? So, Lonzo is still going to be out for most of the year or all year, right? Did they rule him
Yeah,
out?
I mean Lonzo's out for next year too. Like
Yeah,
at this point.
right. But here's the thing is like when Levine, Vooch, and DeRozan are clicking, they're still a good team. But it's just who's going to be that next guy to step up. So with that being said, I think that this is a play-in fighters team, but probably no more. I think they have their identity, but
I mean, you have Zach Levine and you have DeMar DeRozan and you have Vooch. It's kind of hard. Like you kind of know what your identity is, but it's just not working.
yeah. So play-in fighters.
Yeah.
Okay. The Cleveland Cavaliers, after their first round exit last year, gaining Donovan Mitchell, still having Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, um, Darius
Playoff
Garland.
contenders.
Yeah, I think that
Playoff
one was a pretty obvious one. Now this one's an interesting one, Gage. I know that you love talking about this team, the Dallas Mavericks.
Identity finders. I mean, you have Kyrie and you have Luka Doncic. You're kind of in the same position as the Atlanta Hawks. Honestly, you have two short guards, and you expect the only difference between Atlanta is actually one of your guards can play pretty good defense. I mean, Trae Young can be a kind of a cone. So, but Luka Doncic can't play any D. Kyrie Irving can play some defense. It's a little underrated, but it's not enough to hold it down, especially when you gave away your entire supporting cast. I mean, it made sense when they made that trade initially because without Luka, they weren't doing anything anyways. So might as well take a shot at dark. You didn't lose anything, but you didn't gain anything with this Kyrie. You're still where you're at. Could have made a better trade, but
Yeah. I really want to put the Mavericks in playoff contenders because I do think that backcourt can be really good, but I think they are more so an identity finder than a playoff contender, even though I could still see them being a 5 seed. They need to figure out what they're doing, like who's their big? Is it is it Powell?
I
Like
don't know.
cuz Christian Wood's gone. I don't think they really have a big to help support them. So, yeah, I think I'm cool with putting them at identity finder. The Denver Nuggets?
Top team.
Top team, yeah. I expect them. I don't know if I have them winning the West again this year, but I definitely expect them to be top two, top three team in the West easily. And like with a lot of these teams, and we've seen in multiple years past, injuries can definitely derail a lot of seasons. And I feel like an injury to Jokic is really the only thing that can derail the Nuggets season at the moment.
Yeah, they have the potential to build a dynasty here. All the players are young. They all they know their roles. They have a great coach who knows how to play for center. Uh, they did lose a couple players. Uh, Bruce Brown was probably the biggest the hit, because he was just such a great spark off the bench, especially when they're running a 9-man rotation. Like, if you lose one of those players, that's intense. But I see them making another strong run, but don't expect anyone to take them lightly this year. Again, like I feel like last year people kind of walked into it thinking it's the Denver Nuggets with their eyes against like better teams like the 76ers and Celtics, but no, everyone has a game plan, or everyone the the price for a stronger big bodied center has kind of went up, because everyone needs one. If you're going to play the Denver Nuggets, you need one. That's it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The Detroit Pistons. You've had 3 lottery picks the last 3 years, resulting in Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Asar Thompson. You still think that they're tanking again with 3 young guys?
I don't know what they do. I don't know what their pieces just don't fit. Like they don't have they have pieces, but they have like Wiseman and former number 2 pick, I forgot his name, fighting
Cade?
for a starting spot.
Oh,
Not Cade.
gotcha.
Guy who the infamous drafted after Luka or drafted before Luka, was it? Which one was it?
I don't remember.
I don't know, but they just have a lot of little pieces that they don't really know what they're doing yet. I guess you can maybe put them identity finders there, but
Yeah.
I don't know if they have anybody who's worthy to build. I don't see Cade as a number one option. That's another
Yet.
story there.
Yet. You know, I mean, how many people really saw Shai as the number one guy to build around in OKC going into last year? Okay. I mean, I saw it too because I was I was a
Giddy?
Clippers fan. Giddy? Yeah, I didn't see Giddy.
Dort? It's Shy, son.
Yeah. The Warriors. I know
Playoff
you want to put.
contenders.
Yeah, I was gonna say you can't put them anywhere else. The dynasty's not dead. You know the era of Curry, Kerr, Clay. It's not done.
Well,
Not yet.
they traded Jordan Poole for a old Chris Paul who happens to be one of the smartest that the game has ever seen at the point guard position. So it's honestly kind of weird because the Warriors ball has been like always the best team ball besides, the Spurs in the recent history. So it does make sense that they got a smarter player. There are times even in the preseason Chris Paul passes up shots that Jordan Poole would have definitely loved to pull. No pun intended, but it's just like you traded for a smarter player, and I guess that Warriors offense doesn't need that much athleticism when you think about it. I think it's gonna work.
Yeah, because I feel like when we were talking when it first happened, you were like, first Paul. I mean, I was a little skeptical at first too, but you know, and plus if he's coming off the bench, like Chris Paul can still dominate some second units easily.
He could be that best. He could be like that player Draymond is. Like if you put him on any other team, he sucks. But if you put him on this system, he's just great.
Oh, did you just say that Draymond sucks? I think that's what you were just alluding to.
I said on any other team.
Mm, okay. Houston Rockets. I like with how they increased their roster. So I
Say
think
something nice. Look, we both pause. Say something nice.
um, as much as I still think that they're trying to find identity, I think with Ime, they kind of have it, and they went out and got Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. Two guys that they kind of wanted to get. They have a young core. I think they have an identity. So now I think it's that next step, and I think that's the plan.
Stop. They're an identity finder. They don't even
Still,
know who is the number one guy, who's the number two, who's the number three. What is their offense going to look like? KPJ is out. What did you learn from last year? Because I don't know if I played for the Houston Rockets. I don't know what I learned. I learned to get my stats. If I'm if I'm Jalen Green or KPJ, I mean, what did you learn from last year? What did we learn about this team?
that Steven Silas is not a head coach.
Exactly. But what was their what was their model? Like what won them games? I don't know what their identity is.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. I need to just double check, make sure. So let's see. Okay. So Brad Stevens stepped down in 2021, and Ime Udoka became the head coach.
Okay.
In his first year, he took the Boston Celtics to a championship.
I don't see Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown on this
Yes,
on this team.
and I understand that, but this is a coach that, although he had a good roster, it wasn't super spectacular. He had to get the best out of Marcus Smart because Marcus Smart could have some really bad games. You know, they had
Marcus
to
Smart
get
was a 6th-round pick. He was great.
six.
He
Yeah,
was a 6th round, and he came in knowing that he was going to play defense. They had a better
yeah.
team.
But I trust in Ime, but I can still. I mean, you convinced me that they can still be an identity finder.
They have to be. Ime, we haven't even seen Ime's offense. We haven't seen what he plans to do. I don't know. I couldn't. One of the worst jobs I feel like for me is the Houston Rockets because there is no foundation there. I mean, you have the players. I guess maybe it depends on how creative you want to be. Like if you, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Indiana Pacers.
Playing fighters.
Yeah, I agree. I know last week Peyton had Rick Carlisle as his coach of the year. And this is a team that I think could be fighting for that play-in and potentially make the playoffs. But, I feel like they need a lot of stuff to go right for them. They haven't had a lot of stuff go right in the last few years.
Yeah, they have a really crowded front court that they're trying to figure out what to do with. They're holding Trouts there. You would have liked to have a player like Sabonis down there with Tyrese, but you can only have one, so just get Tyrese and build around Tyrese. Tyrese can get the ball to those players, but you do need the players. He works best when you have players that can space out the floor and slash it a little bit. So I think they know what their identity is. I think they just need to get the players.
Yeah.
I think Buddy Hield, he's still on Indiana, right?
Yeah. For the time being.
Yeah, because where Buddy Hield goes, the playoffs do not follow. I'm sorry, but
yeah,
I don't know.
And it depends on what they can get out of Buddy Hield too.
Yeah,
like if they could get a starter, that'd be clutch. But I don't.
That ship might have sailed.
I think so as well. All right, the LA Clippers.
Playoff contenders.
Yeah. What is the max potential of the Clippers? We've never seen it. We've seen them make to the conference finals, but we haven't seen them, 100% at the conference finals.
I'm tired. I'm tired of saying that. I'm tired of hearing 100%, 100%. I don't care anymore. They're a playoff contender. I'm not gonna play around with these what ifs. I've been playing around with what ifs for the last 4 years, Sam. I'm done.
Okay. Anything you have to say on the Clippers?
Playoff contenders.
Okay. Lakers.
Top team.
Stop.
No, if the Denver Nuggets are a top team, the Lakers are a top team.
Geigh, can I go grab something from out of my storage closet real fast? It's a broom.
Because they added a lot of players.
Okay,
who'd they Jackson Hayes. So
Jackson Hayes is probably not even going to play, bro.
Jackson Hayes is going to play tons of minutes.
Christian Wood.
Christian Wood's going to play. Christian Wood can't play defense. He is going to be.
When you have Anthony Davis.
You have Anthony Davis, but you can't rely on Anthony Davis.
If you have Anthony Davis and Jared Vanderbilt and LeBron on the court, you can afford to have Christian Wood out there.
They got swept because they had nobody to play defense on.
They got
Jokic
swept because they have Darvin Ham. You can't put.
They didn't get swept because of that. And plus, they made the Western Conference Finals. How are you going to not have a team that made the Western Conference Finals?
They were a 7th seed.
And they made the Western Conference Finals. The Miami Heat made the championship.
Yeah, and we'll find out where we have the Heat here in 3 teams.
Okay, because have the Heat made any upgrades? All right. No.
Okay, but how big of an upgrade is Jackson Hayes?
Compared to the other center they had? What center did they have? They didn't have a center.
Yeah, because they traded him away.
They kept Rui. They had the best record after the trade deadline. They had the best record in the NBA.
Nope, it was the Bucks.
Oh, okay. On the Western Conference.
There you go.
Okay. Top team. I'm not top team. Top team has to be top team.
No,
has to be top team.
Can't do that.
They're you know what? Vegas has them at plus 1,000 behind 4 teams. Vegas picks them as the 5th most likely.
And how often is Vegas right?
Pretty. I mean, there has to be something about that. Otherwise, how would they make money? They have to be a top team.
They make money for getting people to
you have
to bet.
LeBron James, Anthony Davis.
LeBron in year 21, 22. Which year? Which year is it?
Still a scoring threat. It's LeBron James.
I mean, I'm not doubting LeBron James. They're obviously a playoff contender, but you also got to keep in mind the last 3 years, they have still had decent teams. They were a 7 seed, a 12 seed, a 7 seed.
Top team. Sam, you did this last year. And then where did the Lakers end up in the Western Conference Finals?
Yeah, but that was a totally different tier list. That was because you said it was an S tier trade, and who was playing in that conference finals? D'Lo.
Okay.
Who
where
was
do we have him?
Malik Beasley. Who wasn't?
Let's see where
Jared
does
Vanderbilt.
ESPN have him in the power rankings? How about that? Power rankings. Let's see what ESPN thinks. Lakers at 4. Come on now.
That's just a recency bias. I don't believe that.
Lakers at 4. It takes more than just big threes now.
Whoa, what are you looking at? Yeah, you're looking at something different.
Which I'm looking at Hoops Hype.
You said ESPN. I went up to ESPN.
Okay.
They got him 7.
I'll go to ESPN.
2024 odds 1,200. 7th behind the 76ers. The Heat, I don't believe that.
Where does Bleacher Report say? They have, let's see where Bleacher Report puts them. Oh, this is on 3 years. Let's see. NBA Power Rankings 2024. That's July 13th. Let's
July 14th.
Let's do something newer when all the trades have went down. I want to know what happens with Dame and all that. Okay. CBS Sports, what do you have? Nuggets at 2nd. Boston Celtics at 3rd. Suns 4th, Lakers 5th. They're the best of they're the worst of the best, Sam.
But here's the thing: the fact that you have to say that doesn't mean that they should be in the best.
Someone has to be, because if you put them in playoff contenders, they're better. They're better than those teams, but they're not better than like the Celtics, like from on paper.
Don't like it. I don't like it.
You can keep them at the end of top teams because they're Western Conference Finals. They had a Western Conference Finals appearance, and they added more depth.
Oops. Here we go. I'm going to do this.
Okay, sure. There. Okay, sure.
I cannot put them in top teams.
Okay, sure.
So there. Is that a good compromise?
Yeah, fine.
Okay, there. We solved that.
Okay.
You're lucky that PT wasn't here because he wasn't going to let you put it there, and then it would have been a 2-1. So
he would have let me put it there. He knows better. He knows better.
No, he knows. Okay, the Grizzlies. Okay, top teams. I'm kidding. I still think that they're going to be a playoff contender. Even with Ja missing 25, I think getting Marcus Smart is a good substitute for those 25 games. And then once Ja comes back, could be looking pretty good.
I mean, Marcus Smart is a Band-Aid for losing Dylan Brooks. Well, I mean, you kind of didn't want Dylan Brooks, so maybe it's an upgrade over Dylan Brooks. But okay.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Miami Heat.
They didn't make any upgrades, so I'm going to put them at playoff contenders.
Okay. I'm cool with putting them there.
They're kind of stagnant.
But last year they were a play-in fighter. And this year, they lost, I believe they lost Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. 2 guys that were huge in their run in the postseason. They still have Bam. They still have Jimmy. I don't think that they really made any big acquisitions.
No.
Out of the 4 teams that made it to the conference finals last year, they are easily the worst at. They had the worst offseason.
They banked on it.
Yep. Milwaukee Bucks.
Top team.
Yep. Adding Dame just
I would
if
have had
there
them
was
top team last year.
yeah, but you wouldn't have had their Drew Holiday trade as S tier. Okay, weird, but that's fine.
This might be an S tier, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind what they gave up. I mean, giving up Drew, but you weren't going to be able to keep Drew and get Dame. Otherwise, that would have been 4 out of the 6 Infinity Stones.
What? No, if they would have kept Drew and Dame, that would have been 7 out of the 6. Like, you keep Drew and Dame, like, you already had. You just made up another Infinity Stone right there. You don't.
Yeah. Minnesota Timberwolves.
Playing fighter. And I only say that because of the emergence of Anthony Edwards. Because I think they want to build around Anthony Edwards. Karl Anthony Towns might not be the focal point of this offense anymore. He's a great number 2 guy, and I think he's starting to lean number 2. But Cat hasn't proven to have much success when you have him as the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And Rudy Gobert kind of, I don't know. And plus, they need a guard who can play a good offense off ball game. So playing fighters, they know what they need to do, they just don't have it.
Yeah, I could really kind of put them down at identity finders, but after a year of having Cat and Rudy down low, and then having Ant be the guy, I feel like that is their identity that they're going to roll with. They did end up trading D'Lo, so that could kind of spark a little bit of do they know what they're doing? But
they do. That's the reason they got rid of D'Lo, because D'Lo wasn't a right fit for that team. He just wasn't. You need Anthony Edwards with the ball in his hand.
Yeah. So the next one, New Orleans Pelicans.
Can we take them and put them behind the Knicks, and then we can talk about the Knicks while I think about that.
Okay, I guess we'll do that.
Okay.
So the New York Knicks.
Playoff contenders.
Yeah.
But that's it.
I think we've been joking, for the last, I think it's been every offseason since we've had this podcast. It's are the Knicks finally going to get their guy? And then last year we were like, Jalen Brunson is that guy.
And he was.
And he was. Now, is he the guy to win you a championship?
Maybe.
But as of right now, he's the guy that can get you to the playoffs, maybe even win you a series again. They beat the Cavs, and everyone thought that, the Cavs, it's going to be Cavs Bucks. That's going to be a good series to watch. Well, newsflash, neither of those teams made it.
I think Julius Randle gets traded.
Ooh. For who? For what type of player? Not necessarily who. What do they get in return?
They're getting someone who can knock down the 3. I don't think they need Julius Randle's. That's a physical team. Insane. They got bodies in New York, but I think they're leaning toward. They always suffer when Julius Randle can't shoot the 3, and if he just gets a player who can just knock down the 3, a little bit of a slasher, you don't need him to be that Julius Randle esque. So I think they trade for someone who can at least knock down a 3. Could be a center, could be power forward. Just someone.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna move back one more, Gage. So I need who? Where are you putting the Pelicans?
Playoff contenders.
Yeah, I think you kind of have to with
I think Zion stays healthy at the end of the season.
has to,
I think he's healthy at the end of the season.
because if he's not, what do they do?
Nothing. They just
Like,
lose.
here's the thing: if Zion does not play 42 games, which is more than half the season, you can bump them down to that right there,
Mm-hmm.
because that team, when they were healthy last year, was the 2 seed in the West,
Yep.
and they just could not get the ball rolling when Zion went down, and he just never came back. So yeah, I think playoff contenders is the good one to put it in, but they could definitely fall between any of those.
Okay.
OKC Thunder.
I kind of like him at play-in fighters, but I also like him as identity finders because the identity finders. But I feel like if they sit in identity finders a little bit, they'll jump to playoff contenders. You know, I feel like as soon as they find their identity, they're not like they have the players they need to make the playoffs. Does that make
They
sense?
skipped that level.
They skip the level. If they find their identity, they skip to the playoff contenders because they have the players that can work. You know?
Yeah. The only thing is, I don't want to be wrong about this. You know, I think playing fighters is definitely something. I mean, they were right there last year, and I think that the addition of Chet will help them out. Um, I think Shai can repeat as one of the top guards in the league this upcoming year. I think everyone's finding their role well.
Yeah, but once they do, they're a playoff team.
Yeah. So like I expect them to make the play in again. Maybe make it to that 7 or 8 seed fighting game. But if they don't make the playoffs this year, that's fine. They just need to be better than the 10 seed like they were last year.
Mm.
Orlando
Okay,
Magic.
tankers.
Tankers. Are we
It's too
are
bad.
it
They just,
is.
I mean, their players always just kind of leave. Like they're building something, but the Orlando Magic always has a history of their players just leaving.
Yeah. It's like every year you're trying to build a house, and then there's some sort of like hurricane that takes away some part of your house.
Basically, it's
Like
kind
it
of.
floods your basement, and it's like you're trying to build the perfect man cave, and every year you have to get this water out before you can start building your man cave, and then when you finally see the vision starting to come unfold, it falls
I
apart.
I need to have a conversation with Orlando Magic fan. Really, just I need to understand like what it's like because like I kind of feel like I have a good idea of like all the fan bases except like an Orlando what keeps you as an Orlando Magic fan? What keeps you what helps you sleep at night? Cuz
The fact that you can go to Disney World if if they don't win a game.
yeah, it's honestly like you're in everyone else's world. They're like that team that is just serves as being like a bot and when you're playing Call of Duty and they're just kind of there. You need to fill in bots so you can play Call of Duty with your friends against computers. They're one of those computers that they're just there in that world, but they're there to give people wins.
They're the real life version of I'll sim this game.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what they are.
A team that you cannot do that against is the Philadelphia 76ers. With the news of James Harden wanting to get traded, can't be top teams,
Playoff contender,
playoff contenders. Yeah,
but one of the best.
yeah,
They,
definitely.
yeah, but they're still good. I'd put them at one of the best. Here's the thing. They're still one of the best, though. Like, I still believe in James Harden and Joel Embiid, but at this point, you have all the pieces you need to win a championship. They got rid of Doc, so that could be interesting. But
Or that could bring down the downfall.
no, I would scoot the 76ers right up next to the Lakers, actually. Are they in Laker tier? Can we have more teams in Laker tier? No. Let's just put them ahead of the.
We could.
No, that's just Laker. But that's where I feel about them. You still have James Harden.
But here's the thing: for how long? Like, have they really mended that relationship? I don't think they have.
They're fine. James Harden understands.
Does he though? He's requested trades from how many different teams now?
But he doesn't have the weight until he plays. You can't ride the weight from the Houston Rockets forever.
Right. Phoenix Suns?
Top team.
Yeah. The addition of Bradley Beal, still having Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. I have Kevin Durant as my MVP. I expect them to be the one seed in the West. Yeah, I think top team is a good spot for him.
Yeah.
Nothing to add on to that?
No, I mean, we could go on about their depth and, they traded away Ayton, and Ayton says, speaking of Ayton,
yeah, let's talk about the Blazers. Okay. Tankers. They need a center.
Takers.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, not necessarily a center, per se. But, I think going in the right... I mean, they have Simons. They have Ayton. They have Scoot. I think that's a good one, but it's just I don't think that they're ready to find an identity. Yeah. I don't think that's enough to find an identity.
Yeah.
You can't have three guys and be like, all right, so what are we doing? It's like, well, first of all, we just traded away our star player. That was our identity. We traded away our identity. We can't find one right now. So it's like after getting out of a 5-year-long relationship, and then next month you're like, okay, I'm ready to get hurt again. No, you chill out. The Sacramento Kings,
playoff contender.
Yeah, I don't see.
They got the identity. They got everything.
Yep, and Sabonis, great trade. Loved that.
Do you think it is enough to push them up into the high heights? They're one of the worst playoff contenders, but they're a playoff contender because De'Aaron Fox is good. Sabonis is good. Malik Monk is good off the bench. Arguably could be 6th man of the year. It's just
Keegan Murray he was the best 3-point shooting rookie of NBA history.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of flawless teamwork to win, in the playoffs against some of these teams with the superstars. How loaded the West is. It's going to be hard to beat the Phoenix Suns, the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors with what you got. Now they could, but that's going to take Spurs-esque basketball. And who plays Spurs-esque basketball in the West? The Golden State Warriors, which is why
they almost beat in 7.
But the Warriors pulled it out. Why? Because they don't need to get,
I think the experience was crucial in that one. And I think that's just what the Kings just need. Getting to the playoffs again, competing in the playoffs, winning a series would be crucial. So,
okay.
San Antonio Spurs?
Identity finder. Spicy, I know. But hear me out. If you can, I feel like they have the young players enough. I don't think they necessarily need the tank. I think this is an experiment year to see exactly how do you want to utilize Wembanyama. How good is Wembanyama? Can you actually revolutionize the NBA with Wembanyama? Is it okay to have a 7'4" point guard? Can he play 7'4" point guard? I think it's an identity finder. That's a hot take, but if we're going to go ahead and put the Detroit Pistons as an identity finder, there's room for the Spurs there too. They have Victor. Do you really need to tank after that one? I think you might be okay to start looking around.
Yeah, I don't.
You could start making. Yeah, go ahead.
It's hard to be a tanking team multiple years in a row with the greatest coach of all time as your coach. Yeah. So and everyone's got to keep in mind the last time that the Spurs had a losing record, I believe, was the year before they drafted Tim Duncan. And what was that team needing? They were needing to find their identity after that. And they found Tim Duncan, they found their identity, and then they won 6 championships since then.
They had the Admiral. Then I think they picked up Tony Parker and Manu in the second round. So they got lucky with Manu.
And then eventually Kawhi.
They're just, just Kawhi, just pick up. And then they were golden. So I feel like that's brewing. I feel like that sort of idea.
It's reminiscent.
Yeah.
So I'm cool with putting them as an identity finder. Just because of Pop.
And Wemby.
We know how I feel about Wemby. Toronto Raptors. I think they're a play-in fighter.
I think they're identity finder.
Identity finder.
They just lost Fred VanVleet, you know? And
the guy that would throw up 25 shots a game and shot 37% from the field.
Scotty Barnes hasn't progressed, and you still have Siakam and
Gary Trent.
And then you still have Gary Trent, and you have OG, and you're holding tight to these guys, but how is it all going to work? I don't know.
Here's the thing. How is it going to work? I don't know, but it's good enough to fight in the playoffs. The play-in. The play-in. I think they're more of a play-in fighter than an identity. Like, that is an underlying issue, yes. But I think they are more of a play-in team than they need to find an identity.
All of those teams seem like they're ready for the playoffs, you know? Like, I could see the Atlanta Hawks making the playoffs. I could see the Chicago Bulls, making the playoffs. I don't see Toronto. Are they really comparable to the Thunder? Are they comparable to the Minnesota Timberwolves? They're more comparable to the Nets and the Mavericks to me.
But here's the thing: is I think that while we see the Pacers, Blazers, and Thunder going like this, I see the Toronto kind of going like this. So I think they're at a converging point where you can say that they're still play-in fighters. But you think Toronto's like that?
I think Toronto's like this.
Well, they were a play-in fighter last year.
They got a new coach too. I think they're identity finder. New coach, no more Fred VanVleet. Traded him away. Who ended up going there? Dennis Schroeder?
Yeah, Dennis.
Okay.
So you want to keep him in play-in, or do you want to move him down to identity?
I think they're identity because I like them being matched up with the Nets and the Dallas Mavericks. Mostly the Nets. You know, the Nets. Yeah.
Okay. Utah Jazz? I know you want to put them somewhere good.
You see, I don't know what the Utah Jazz are going to do this year. What is their plan? If they could compete, they can compete. I think they can compete if they wanted to. Do they want to?
Compete for what?
For a playoff spot.
Okay. You got to clarify, because I'm like, okay, I will put the Lakers in the top team before I put the Jazz as in the Lakers category.
No, I think I want to put the Jazz in play-in fighters. Just because I think they can compete. But if the Jazz decide they need to tank out another year, then it's gonna be real obvious. But they have the pieces. Maybe they need a guard.
Who is their last week? Sexton? I don't think he plays.
It's not even Sexton. That's the crazy thing. They have Lauri Markkanen. They have Kessel, or is it
Kessler?
Walker Kessler. They have John Collins. They have
John Collins.
They have a good 6-man off the bench in Jordan Clarkson, who's super turnover crazy, but he's still pretty good. Could get you some points. They have Sexton off the bench. Who is their point guard?
And to go along with that question, what is their identity? I think this is more of an identity than a play-in team. Like, because like, what are they? Like, I mean, they were the 1 seed for the first 3 weeks of the season last year. But was that their identity? No, because they finished as like the 12 seed.
But I feel like they did that on purpose. They're just kind of there. But they had the most improved player of the MPOY. All right, is it MI? I don't know how
MIP.
MIP. My bad. I don't know. I mean, they showed that they can play. You can play around Lauri Markkanen. Tough. Okay, I can see them as identity finders, but they're one of the best.
Yeah, I could say that.
Yeah, they're one of the best if they just figure out what they want to do. There's so many different ways you can play with this team. They're going to surprise us.
I think the Mavericks, Rockets, and Jazz could be the top 3 in the identity finders.
Yeah, I think the Utah Jazz are going to surprise us if they decide to compete.
All right, so now the Washington Wizards. I know you love talking about the Wizards.
Tank. I just feel like this front office is trying to be too aggressively make moves and try to blow people's minds, especially with their pick. I wasn't really happy about their pick. I think it was they drafted Bilal, or I think
let me look.
Drafted, and then they made some weird trades. They traded for Jordan Poole, which is okay. They traded away Rui. Was that the same? They traded away Bradley Beal for peanuts. I mean, he had a terrible contract, so maybe it's okay.
They drafted Bilal Coulibaly.
Yeah, Bilal, which I wasn't really a fan of.
I told you he was going to go in the top 10, though.
I don't think any other team was going to pick him in the top 10. If it was, it was going to be the Wizards. No, he wasn't even like. If you look at all the draft boards, the guy was going projected 20th. He played alongside Victor, so it's just like, was he good because he played alongside Victor, or everyone was obsessed with people who kind of looked like Victor. He's tall. He was a number 2 option for Victor, but I think this Washington Wizards front office has some thinking to do, and that's what puts them as tankers, because I think they need to do better next draft. I don't think they. I think they need. I don't know. Tankers. I don't. Yeah. I mean, you have Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, and you sign Kyle Kuzma to some ludicrous deal. Big deal. But for what? So. What kind of deal was it? Don't tell me it was a max.
I'll look it up right now.
$102 million for how many years? $102 million
for 3,
for 4
I believe.
Years.
For 4? Okay, so it wasn't too bad. That's
4 years.
Like a 25 and a half. Or, yeah, 25 and a half a year.
Yeah, I think they're gonna. Here's the thing: the Washington Wizards are. Jordan and Kyle Kuzma are gonna average 55 points and then also average 55. They're gonna get 55 losses. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
that's what is gonna happen. I hope they made sure not to give him a no trade clause this time. But I mean, the pay itself is a no trade clause, so you're not going to be able to get rid of Kyle Kuzma.
I don't know. I mean, everyone thought that the Chris Paul contract was a no trade clause, and he got traded twice in the span of 3 days.
No, that contract for Kuzma is a no trade clause.
But all right, so that wraps up our tier list. Geigh, how does it look? Do you like it? Do we need to change anything?
I think it's good.
Okay. So there's one trade that's been rumored this all offseason. I just need to ask you about it. Now, obviously, we're not going to change this. We already said it's good. But if James Harden gets traded to the Clippers, does that move them there?
Depends on with who.
Depends who they
For
gave
who.
up.
Depends. If they give up Paul George, they lose a rank.
Why would they give up Paul George?
Yeah, exactly. It depends who.
You said they go down a rank if they give up Paul George?
They go down a rank if they lose Paul George. They go to identity finders.
They go all the way. I mean, I guess that could be a thing. But is there anything else you need to add?
No, this is good. I'm excited to see some teams jump up from identity finders this year. They're gonna make the jump and they're gonna ruin our tier list. But
no, we're never wrong about our tier list ever. Ain't that right?
Yeah, I forgot.
But once again, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Momentum MVP. Follow our Facebook page at MVP Momentum Podcast, and check us out on YouTube at MVP Momentum Podcast. I've been Sam Holcroft.
Geigh Zollicoffer. Payne. Oh, got to start over the whole podcast, right? Thanks
for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Got to start it off again. Yeah, got to start it over.